Allah about him. Thank you.
Good evening to everyone. I'm really happy that I have an opportunity to introduce Rahul, my dear friend Rahul Guha, to members. And Rahul Guha started his photography long time back in 70s and 80s. And when he joined mining department, and he went on to become the topmost director of mine safety. It's like, director of mine safety, his office in Dhanbad. So that was the topmost. And he's during the journey, except during when he became a director, he used to make 2, 3 trips to Himalayas uh, or wildlife and sanctuaries. And I had an opportunity to travel with him a few times to Himalayas, and it was talking to him is so inspiring, so knowledgeable. He is well versed with either equipment or geology or the wildlife. It was always a pleasure talking to him, and his images are something he thinks a lot about his photography. And he made several trips to Valley of Flowers. I mean, I think around 3 times or 4 times. I mean, he made a lot of yeah.
6 times actually.
6 times, 6 times, 6 times. He trekked to Valley of Flowers, which is a fascinating place. So he has a vast amount of experience in wildlife and landscape photography. And I'm looking forward to. I mean, initially he was participating in salons, but I'm not sure whether no longer. I don't think so. He's participating now, and he developed his own way of seeing things, and he looking forward to a very interesting presentation from Rahul. Over to you, Rahul.
Thank you very much, Satta. Thank you very much. What we'll do, let me
YouTube is on.
yes, I will.
Yes.
So what I propose to do is once again thank you very much Satta, Sarmagaru and all the TPS members for allowing me this opportunity. I'm really humbled. Today what I will do, I've divided the presentation in 3 sections. One small section of a very interesting area which I was looking at, and it interests me a lot. So I thought I'll share it with my fellow members of TPS and whoever is watching on YouTube, my friends and family. So first I'll start with something which I look at as designing an image. So whatever you do, what type of images you make, whether it is landscape or wildlife or any other, actually you will find some kind of design elements in the photograph. So I start with an image. Many of us had been to this place at Somoriri. So what I start with elements in the photograph. Analyze your own images. So I would request whoever is a serious photographer, collect about 80, 100 of your images. Maybe without human elements, maybe with human elements, whatever. And then look at them once again, starting from your old photographs, look at them once again and see that what are the design elements which are predominant in those photographs, whether line or shape or form and texture and pattern or color. And tick the predominant form of your picture. After you do this exercise, you will see that what interests you actually, what kind of design elements you are putting in your photograph. And it can be very, very revealing, very revealing. We are doing it. This thing is at the back of our mind always, but when we put it on paper or on a table in front of us, it reveals a great area of what kind of design elements we are using. Why I chose to talk about design is that our photographs, any successful photograph, has some kind of order. Say in a room, if all the things are cluttered all around, kept all around, you don't find it interesting. Some kind of order. So successful photographs rely on that kind of order, whatever it is. And the elements, we all know, that bring order to those photographic compositions are line, shape, form, texture, pattern, color. These are the elements of design. These are the 6 different elements of design, major elements of design. And every photograph, all of our photograph, whether successful or not, contains at least one, if not more, of these elements. Now, we can see that at the back of our mind, all these elements have a tremendous symbolic value. They can be experienced as hard, tough, or soft, very, very friendly, or maybe hostile, strong, weak, aggressive, passive. This, without even understanding, we bring all these elements or all these emotions in our pictures many times. And everybody can understand that actually the way we grew up, our life experiences, our sensitivities, they govern what the same place, the same visual in front of us. One look at it from one point of view, another person looks at it from another point of view. Photographing side by side, you will find that you are coming up with entirely different images. I strongly feel that our life experiences, our memories, our literature, our music, everything has got an influence on how we put these design elements in our images. I talk a little about all these design elements for our interest. All the 6 elements we were talking about, line definitely is the strongest. And in nature, these curvilinear lines dominate. You will not find all the time straight lines or very geometric shapes unless you are actually looking for it. The curves, they're seen as gentle, soft. Jagged lines, if there are more jagged lines in your photographs, they are perceived as forceful, sharp, threatening. The diagonal lines, we all know, all photographers know that movement, activity, the dynamism is there. And when you are looking at something, particularly landscapes type of photographs, what and how to include or exclude is the key to a successful photograph. That I am very sure about this now. Look at shape. Shapes actually the principal elements of identification. Say, think about a silhouette. You will, with that shape, you will immediately understand what it is. And of course, as photographers, we know the shadows are subjects that defines shapes very well. So shape is another element of design. And then comes form. Shape has 2 dimensions actually, but form is seen in 3 dimensions. Form assures us that an object, it has depth. And of course, side lighting is very suitable to show form. Squares, rectangles, triangles, circles evoke different emotional responses. We don't have the time to go in great details into what kind of emotional responses, but I'm sure my friends, photographer friends, they already understand all these. And when these forms of these shapes are revealed by side lighting or very low lights or whatever way, photographic way you represent them, the message gets definitely amplified. Texture, it's a very subtle, very not so direct way of designing a photograph. And light is extremely important in conveying texture. And this is also, texture gives a poetic form into your images. If you consciously look at textures, then I'm sure that you will find it many types of textures in nature, and they give another level, another type of meaning to your photography. And of course, some textures are obvious: tree bark, grass, rough surfaces, and other, particularly when light and color creates textures, that's you have to really look for it. And we use another design element, pattern, a lot in, and repeating patterns very much attracts your eyes, and they give rise to nice pattern pictures. And then color. Again, the exercise which I was talking about in the beginning, you can do it with color also. You take 30, 40, 50 of your photographs and find out which are the predominant colors you are using. You will be surprised to see that how these things happen with your own photo. You will see particular colors are you are using more. So if you do it consciously, this color and all these design elements can do wonders to your photography. So that's the very small presentation I wanted to make about design elements of a photograph. And let me share a secret here, that actually when you are working in the field, you will hardly be able to use these kinds of theories. But if you understand this, if you know it, then what happens is automatically you will be able to use these elements in your designing your photograph. And all the more, I'm sure you will land with much better imagery in your work and more variety in your work. I now will go to the first part of the presentation. That's some of my wildlife images. This image was made at Mangla Jodi. People who are familiar with particularly bird photography in our country, Mangla Jodi is a very known and very popular name. And many times in the month of January, you will find a dense fog in the morning. And sometimes people think that what to do in the fog, whether to go or not. And then maybe a little later when the sun is up. But my experience says that fogs give rise to beautiful, moody, dreamy pictures, dreamy images. So this was similar like that one in the morning when I went for the boat ride in Mangalajodi. It was dense fog was there, and that day the fog gave me quite a few very nice pictures. This is one of them. This is a shot at Manas National Park. This is a chestnut-headed bee-eater. Bee-eaters are very good subjects, and they fly around and then almost always come back to the same and sit on the same branch. So it is nice and much easier to shoot these chestnut-headed bee-eaters or any bee-eaters. This was at Thattekad, a Asian brown flycatcher. But look, I was very fascinated with the background, the light. It was a small pool of water, and it was in the afternoon. And see the background, look at the background, and it's a beautiful background it created. And the seemingly very plain color of the bird in contrast to the very colorful background. So I love this picture very much, so I'm sharing it with you. This was at Bharatpur. So I was watching this hoopoe through the lens, picking insects on the grass, and all of a sudden it took flight. And I just kept on shooting. And that's, I like this picture. That's why look at the aerodynamic posture of the bird. This is again another photograph I like very much. See, this was again at Manas. Look at it carefully. A monitor lizard peeping from the hole on the tree trunk, and see what kind of camouflage it is. If you look a little away, it is very difficult to actually identify that there is some animal. It appears just like a. So these animal behaviors, bird behaviors, these is very, very interesting in wildlife photography. How they camouflage, how they behave. That's a very interesting natural history moments you can observe. A very small bird, a silver beak, but a very big feather. So nesting time, the small bird, they all nest and collect material from whatever material available and make a nest. So this was interesting, such a small bird with such a big feather, and there was a little bit of wind also. So it was very nice to look at and photograph. This is a pied kingfisher. So look at the concentration just before dive, just before the dive. And actually pied kingfisher, it's nice, they hover and then suddenly dive to catch their prey. This was in Thattekad, and a hard-spotted woodpecker, not very easily seen. And we were very lucky that the first day we went there, this was actually nesting. This is the female one, hard-spotted woodpecker, and this was a very nice. We were very lucky to actually see this this bird. It appeared that this owl was looking at me and trying to actually intimidate me. That what are you doing? What's that machine with you like that? And it was straight, directly looking at the lens, and it was there for quite a while. This was at in Assam, this Pobitora, and these lineated barbets, and see how tender, how they share. It's a very, very, very wonderful moment. This was again another place which I really love, that Sundarbans. And this brown-winged kingfisher and little bit of raindrops you can see in the image. And again, it dived, suddenly it dived from its perch to catch its prey. So I was really lucky to capture this moment. This was at Corbett this March. This paradise flycatcher, it just dived into the water and came up. It was so nice to look at. Again at Corbett, a common kingfisher, a small, very small bird. It caught a fish and then look how it balanced. Because if its head was upright, then probably the fish would have escaped from its beak. So it just adjusted its good one. I like this pose. Malabar grey hornbills, again at Thattekad. They mate, what I understand or learned from experts, that they mate for life. It's very, very interesting. The hornbills are again another species which are very interesting lifestyle, I would say. This was at Manas, great hornbill. And this is the ambience, the surroundings, their habitat. This actually attracted me, and I thought that this came out quite well, their habitat. Great Mangla Jodi once again, great egrets fighting. But if you look at the photograph in isolation, and if you do not know, they may appear to be dancing. and a beautiful ballet for that matter. This is a greater adjutant stork. Again, in nature, see what it does, it gulps a little bit of water and throws some away. So whatever small fishes or snails or whatever is there in the water, that remains in the inside the beak and the water goes out. So how they feed. Very small bird of prey, a collared falconet. This was also shot at Manas, and many times they actually hunt birds bigger than their own size. It's a small bird, but really very ferocious to look at. This is a beautiful parakeet. This was at Sattal, not a very old photograph. This was again at Sundarbans, osprey taking off. Look at the muscles, look at the strength of the wings. These are the things which actually are fascinating to watch, to observe in nature. This is a peregrine falcon, as if posing for the photograph. They are the fastest birds of prey. This was also shot at Sundarbans. In a duck flight. This is a shrike. This is one of my favorite bird images. From birds, we go to other animals. This is again at Sundarban, a small clawed otter. Not very easily seen, but we were lucky to spot this some time back. Again at Sundarbans, a spotted deer, chital. The angle and the pose I liked. This is again another unique sighting we had in Assam. And this is a huluk gibbon, male. One of the primates, major primates, one of the apes available, the only ape rather available in India. This was really a very, very fascinating sighting. Normally, in wildlife, you don't shoot wild boars. But this in Corbett, the light was so good that I couldn't stop from shooting the picture of the wild boar and sharing it with you. This was again in Sundarbans, a jungle cat. Look at the posture. Look at how alert it was. Sloth bear in Dudhwa National Park. Actually, this bear went to drink water, but it got actually a little bit disturbed for something, probably saw a crocodile or whatever, and then quickly ran back into the bushes. This is again another subject, particularly the elephants, which one of the very fascinating subjects to shoot. And this time in Corbett, I saw this herd of elephants were marching. Actually, it appeared to me that they are probably marching to a beat, and they were going to a water body to take bath and all that, and drink water. And it also reminded me, if you remember Jungle Book, the elephants marching, so that it reminded me of that. This was again another panorama in Corbett. The elephant herd, after taking bath and all, going back towards their place, and large herds of spotted deer. And these spotted deer, they know that when they are near the elephants, they are safe from predators. So large herds of these spotted deers follow the herd of elephants. Beautiful sight. Beautiful sight. The photographs actually don't do justice to what you experience. This is again the playing in mud. These elephant calves, and they're really so. All children are same. It's so fascinating to watch. They keep on playing with each other and making mischief and making life difficult for the mother. This was in Bandhavgarh, one tigress, and was very lucky to get it in that position at eye level, and so majestic, absolutely majestic. And this was at Corbett. We were waiting, and suddenly this came up, and it was straight coming towards our jeep. It's so wonderful to watch this majestic animal. It's very difficult. I cannot describe how great the feeling was. This is again another habitat, water buffalo at Manas. Habitat shot, the greens, the water body, this is a majestic animal. And this was at Masai Mara. Again, the habitat. The zebras, and they actually look so well in black and white that I had the color version also, but the black and white version looks much more interesting. This is a painted wild dog. This was also at Masai Mara. We followed it for quite a while, and at some point we got this particular angle which I liked. This is another from Masai Mara. these are also actually some of these pictures look much better in black and white. The lionesses, and the king, the lion. It appeared that it was just looking at us and telling, what are you doing in my kingdom? And the last one of my wildlife presentation. This is a very typical Masai Mara scene, as if the small bird and this antelope, they were conversing at the end of the day. So thank you very much. That was my selection of wildlife for all of you. And next, Satta?
Yes, Rahul, go ahead.
Shall I go with the landscape or?
Yeah, no, go with the landscape, Rahul. Go with the landscape.
Well, you enjoyed the wildlife presentation?
Absolutely, it's brilliant. It's really brilliant. And all the members are looking at the comments in our Zoom and in YouTube. I mean, everyone is enjoying, thoroughly thrilled. So you start your landscape, you go ahead with that.
Landscape, and after that, at the end, we'll take the questions and all, okay?
Yeah, that's right. End of your presentation, we'll take questions from the viewers.
Thank you.
You can start your landscape.
Friends, I now go to my, I would say, first love, the landscape presentation. Let me first share with you that in a landscape photograph, when you are doing landscape, when you are at the place, if you really find something in the landscape which emotionally connects with you, which evokes some kind of emotion in you, if you can find that in your landscape, then definitely your viewer, your audience will have much better chance of connecting with your interpretation of the landscape. Now, this was at Manas National Park, morning. We were actually looking at the other side, looking at some rhinos. But suddenly, when I looked on the other side, I saw this tree and the sun coming up and these beams of light. And more often than not, you will find that dramatic photographs, dramatic landscapes happen when the light is, or I would say the weather is not very good. When clouds are there and these rays, sun, God beam, if you like, they happen and they give rise to much drama in your photograph. This is one of the most fascinating places. I like it very much. I had been many times. It was from Badrinath. And this is Nilkant Peak. And the sunrise over Nilkant is one of the finest you can witness or you can observe in the mountains. It's really fascinating. It's beautiful to look at. And Badrinath, I like very much. I had been many times, maybe 9-10 times by now. And it is, other than the religious importance, it is also, I like it as a beautiful hill station to spend some time. And this was the first light over Nilkant Peak. And then when the majestic peak aglow on the morning light, it's beautiful. I never get tired of looking at this. Much drama in your photographs. This is a Pang, and the place itself is so wonderful that, and the play of light, and it appears that when you look at it, that somebody has painted the whole. This day the light was very nice. The colors were really, and the layers. I was actually fascinated by the layers it presented. So this was at Pangong Lake. From Leh to Khardungla, on your way, the winding roads, the Peace Pagoda at the background, and again, there are clouds, and the cloud, a little bit of break in the cloud gave rise to this kind of light. And these are so transient, so little, the window of opportunity is so less that you have to shoot, and if you get it, then you are lucky. This is again another type of landscape I like, where you have to actually think hard to create it. The weather was bad, it was overcast sky and all that. So sometimes you wonder what to shoot. And then I would say, here the design elements of a landscape come into play big way. So that is why the minimalistic and the simplicity, that is why I like this photograph. This is again another similar type. Dense fog, very bad atmosphere, and sometimes you get sad that what to shoot and all that, and suddenly some element, some kind of graphic comes in front of your eyes, and you get this type of. This is a way, one of my favorite pictures. This is at Vishnuprayag. When you go from Joshimath in Garhwal Himalayas to Badrinath, in between there is a place called Vishnuprayag, and if you stop there and get down a staircase, you actually reach the confluence of Alakananda and Vishnu Ganga. Such a beautiful place. You can, even without photographing, you can sit there for hours actually looking at the water. And water actually fascinates me a lot. I love to shoot water and moving water and all that. And that is why this particular photograph, the light, and you like this place, but you have to actually think about it, that how to represent it in your image, that you need to find out or think. And the movement of the water and the silky, that is why this is a very nice and my favorite image. And then you sometimes do an abstraction of moving water. And this abstraction, to me, I interpret it in some way, and I leave its interpretation to my viewers. I like this kind of, to make this kind of images. Early in the morning in Somoridi, and beautiful, subtle pastel colors, so fascinating to look at. Ladakh is a place where you can't go or visit enough to do landscape photography. This was near Hanle, and you see the layering of the photograph. The down below the water streams, the meandering streams, and then the painted hills and the small ice-capped peaks, and then the cloud. It's the layering. That's why I like this image very much. And this was again a very popular landscape spot, Chandratal. We were, me, Satta, and few other friends were there on that day, and we were coming from the Spiti side. And when we reached Kunzum Pass, some of our friends decided to trek from Kunzum to Chandratal. And some of us, we thought that no, there is, let us reach Chandratal first. So we came by jeep or our vehicle. And the light, the reflections, the stillness of water, that was absolutely fabulous on that day. And by the time our friends who trekked reached, it was gone. The light was gone and the waves were there and the reflections were also. So this is one of the very fine weather we got at. I'm sure Satta will agree with me that day, like this you get very rarely there. And this was again another place which I am really fond of, that is Hemkund Sahib. From on the way to, on the Valley of, there is a small place when you go to Valley of Flowers or Hemkund, there is a place called Gangaria, which is about 14-15 kilometers from the road head. And then from there, one side you go to the Valley of Flowers, on the other side you go to the Hemkund Sahib. And these are the Brahma Kamals. And it was raining. It was raining, the weather was not very good, but the Brahma Kamals that year, I think this was shot in 2012 or 2011. And they were in so glorious to look at that really again, photographs don't do justice. But I like this image very much. It gives you the mood of that place and the overall ambience. It was really fascinating to make this image. This was, we were coming through More Plain towards Manali, and just before Suraj Tal, we were waiting for setting sun, looking at the other side. And suddenly when I looked back, I saw that the backside was aglow, awash with a beautiful evening light. And this was the result. And I'm sure as I enjoyed making this, you will enjoy looking at this. This also, as I was telling, that evokes a lot of emotion in me. This is a very old photograph. We were coming back from Kibber village, and then by the side there was the key monastery. We were, I think, going back to Kaza. And suddenly we experienced this light. And this was there for a little while. And I was there, Satta was there, and I think Srikant was there also on that trip. And we were really, I would say, very, very fascinated to shoot on that day. Look, this Pangong, Somoriri, and this Ladakh, it's so fascinating that it keeps on changing all the time. And look at the colors, look at the how they render and juxtaposed with each other. What kind of and I like this photograph because I think that it draws you inside the image. Shock River, early in the morning. Again, not very good weather. Little bit of cloud break and light coming. And this was that kind of moody picture, which I liked. This was in Kashmir. And again, I cannot emphasize it enough that if the weather is very good, then you get some kind of pictures. But if you want drama, the actually weather needs to be little bad. And then you wait. Then you wait for some kind of break in the cloud cover to get very interesting and fascinating light. Again, my fascination with moving water. And this I interpret as a counterpoint, the static stone and the moving water. It's a sort of balance each other, and the story of our life, that static and dynamic together. This was at Somoriri, drawn into what I was telling, that you get drawn into the picture, and the colors and the light, everything. How intricate, how nature designs itself, what kind of the colors. You can never think of this type of combinations of color if you do it, say, in a painting. The light and the color, it's a sort of and again, this was from Auli. And most of the time, what I think that when we do post-processing, then sometimes I change it over to black and white and then see that whether the color version is looking better or the black and white version is looking better. But sometimes while shooting itself, you make a decision that yes, this is going to be a black and white image. And see sort of this picture, I look at it as a sort of worship to the mighty ranges with a sort of garland on them. And these mighty ranges are really something which fascinates again and again and again. This is again another. And my favorite place, that's Valley of Flowers. This is deep inside the valley, the Pushpavati River actually flowing from a Rotaban glacier going through the valley. Beautiful place to be there, serene, and you can actually sit down and meditate there for hours. A very rare phenomena, an alpenglow over Nanda Devi from Auli. I was very lucky to witness this that evening. This was in Sarangkot in Nepal. But again, this is a nice picture, but again, you will see this type of pictures. Many photographers do these types. So I am also no exception, but it's a nice, very nice graphic. Another place which evokes a lot of emotions in me is Kedarnath. Though this is not a very pure landscape, this you can call it a travel photograph or whatever. This is the Kedarnath temple after the devastation in 2013. This was shot in 2018 or 19? 2018. This place automatically invokes some kind of emotions in you. This is again another bad weather image. A minimalistic kind of. This was again the same that day at Spiti Valley. I have seen this type of light very, very uncommon, very uncommon. The clouds and the light that day was really very nice. This was at Orang National Park in Assam. And that was the season when this cotton was getting dispersed from the trees, and the whole forest was actually full of these small cotton seeds with the cotton ball, and the evening light and the cotton on the ground. It was really that time we enjoyed it very much. Evening at Jomsom in Nepal. Same place, a little different treatment. And this was at Kashmir. Again, the weather was very bad. It was the cloud cover was there, and suddenly the light, the show of light, I say, that it started happening, and the moving clouds and the light, and see that what kind of drama it created that evening. Actually, these types of pictures I tend to do and I like, because what happens is that after all, this whole photography and particularly landscape photography is a subjective media, and the photographer has got the some kind of subjective interpretation of the scene, and it also leaves a lot of space for the viewer to interpret. That's why I like these types of photographs. The viewer can interpret these photographs in their own way. A very simplistic photograph, see a vista, the cloud, the water. This was at Dhanushkodi, and this is one of my favorite type of picture, a slow shutter during sunset. This was at Johnson, setting sun, sunset time. The black clouds and moving a little bit, opening, and this was a minimalistic kind of approach. And I also like this image. I have a big print of this image at my home. This was at Nubra Valley, evening time. Same place. That day we had really a very great time shooting the setting sun at this place. Again, that type, that light play, which I like. Oh, sorry. This was a sunset over Brahmaputra River. And again, setting sun at Chopta, another beautiful place in the Himalayas. One of the nicest places I have visited in the mountains. Very nice place to be there. At Kashmir. And this is a sort of impressionistic sunset at Kochi. Thank you very much. I think this was my selection to share with you today.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. That was amazing.
Ashutosh, is it okay with the time?
Yes, sir. Yeah. It was perfect. The whole presentation, both the presentations were amazing, sir. Like the first, the wildlife, and next, the landscape. It was very amazing.
Much. Can we take the what you call the questions, please?
Yes, sir. Okay. Open the chat. So there are a lot of there's a lot of appreciation for your work, sir, in the chat box.
You all, thank you very much. And I am really humbled, all of you, for giving me this opportunity.
Yeah. So Sharma sir is asking, how do you get the eye level shots for
Tigers.
tigers? Yeah.
That the one which from Bandhavgarh, actually it was from Elephant Back. Actually, that time they were allowing elephant ride, and that was that place was a little high up, and we were on an elephant back, and we just got it at the eye level. And the other one, actually, I went down into the jeep as much as I could, and then. So it is, as we all know, in the national parks, you are not very free to shoot at whatever gets your way, you get that.
Yeah, Ashok Dilwali sir is saying that what is most pleasing is the way you have captured the ambience with birds and animals.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. That is one I love to do that, actually.
So can you unmute Dilwali ji?
Okay.
And Ishwar also has one question, Stosh.
Yes, sir.
Ishwar, just now he asked one question. Can you repeat that question too?
Yes.
Regarding white balance.
Yes, yes. I'm unmuting Ashok sir. Yeah. Okay. Ishwar sir is asking, do you often change the white balance when you shoot landscapes?
Actually, as I shoot raw, when I shoot, I normally shoot in daylight white balance. But while processing, I check with I do my post processing in Lightroom, and I check with the white balance sliders to see which one is giving very the pleasing good colors. But while shooting, most of the time I shoot in daylight mode.
I have a question, Rahul.
Yes, please.
See, when you're taking landscape images, you think you are part of the scene or you're seeing through the window?
Both, actually, both. When you see, there are certain types of landscapes like those light play and all that. When I think that I am looking through a window. And there are types of landscapes where a big vista and all that, and there is a foreground and there is a background and that kind of compositions, then you feel part of the scene. So both ways, but mostly through a window. That is my personal way to look at it.
Thank you. Thank you, Rahul.
I'm just looking at questions from YouTube.
Somebody is asking, do you carry tripods? Yeah.
Yes, Krishnan sir. Yeah.
So always.
Okay. For both landscapes and wildlife.
Wildlife, actually, doing with tripod is extremely difficult. You cannot do it in our national parks. When you do photography, hide photography for birds in places like Sattal or Thattekad, then you use tripod. Otherwise, you use bin bags most of the time when shooting from jeeps.
I'm just looking at the questions here.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Ananda Rakhit is asking, do you think of post-processing when taking a picture?
See, as we shoot in raw mode almost all the time, so then post-processing is a necessity. You have to do post-processing, and sometimes while shooting itself, I think what kind of I take it into account that what kind of post-processing. And these days, earlier days when we were shooting transparencies, we tended to underexpose a little bit to get more saturated colors. These days, with digital and with this Lightroom post-processing, I personally tend to overexpose a little bit. Shoot the histogram to the little right. That's what I tend to do these days.
So Siddharth Dash is asking, which type of photographs do you enjoy shooting the most?
See, landscapes are my first love. There is no doubt about it. But I also enjoy shooting wildlife because of the fascinating nature of the natural phenomena happening with the animals and birds, their behavior, their habitat. So these are all, I don't restrict myself to only landscapes, because doing landscapes are far more, your investment in time is far more than doing wildlife actually.
Right. So I think those were the end of the questions. Ramakar, do you have any?
I think Astush, can you ask members if they wish to ask? You can unmute them and ask. So any questions are there from the members?
Yes, we can do that. So if anybody has any questions, please raise your hand and I can unmute.
Any of them asking?
No, not yet. Okay, someone is there. Okay, Sanjay sir. Oops. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Good evening, Rahul. That was an excellent presentation. And I think one of the reasons that you're probably not getting as many questions is that not only were the photographs wonderful, your commentary and knowledge was wonderful as well. And if I may also take a quick diversion and mention Ashok Dilwali's presentation last time around. I mean, this is absolutely, these are the kind of things for people like us who are absolutely wonderful learnings. And if I may say so, really appreciate the humble way in which you present what must be, so many decades of work. And I really didn't have a question as much as I wanted to, list that appreciation. Thank you so much, both of you, for your efforts, especially and also to share. I think, to select a limited number of photographs from your body of works must be so difficult to do. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your kind words. Thank you.
Yeah, so I just got a question from Sanjay sir's talk. So from all this body of work, how do you select, or how do you at least select for editing? Like, how do you decide I should edit this picture or not?
It's a very difficult. What happens that when you come back from a trip, I actually put it in Lightroom totally full,
Right.
and then start in Lightroom. These days there is a facility to either tick or not.
Yeah.
So first I do one level of this thing elimination. And more or less 90% of the images get eliminated. And then the remaining 10% I do process, and while processing, some of them renders much better to a final product. And then what happens that again after maybe 6 months, 1 year, or maybe even more, even after 4 or 5 years, I go back to those raw files again, and then again find some pictures which then I think why I didn't consider this at that time. So this happens all the time. I am sure it is happening with all serious photographers.
Yes.
So that's how. One thing I want to share with all the members and all my friends, please print images. Unless you print a reasonably good sized image, you will really not get the maximum out of it. When you print, you understand where you are actually, and you enjoy far more.
Yeah. That's a very nice suggestion. Yeah. Okay. So Sudhanshu has a question.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yes.
Sir, you just mentioned about printing images. What's an ideal size to print? 8x6 or larger? 18
inches by 12 inches, I would say optimum.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go bigger, the better it is. If you look at a 36-inch by 24-inch picture,
wow,
and look at an 8 by 10 or 8 by 12 picture, these are entirely different experience. But 18 by 12, I think, is a reasonably good size to look at.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, there is a question on YouTube. Prakasa, I hope I'm pronouncing it correct. Prakasa is asking, do you think that the mirrorless camera have an advantage over the DSLR, especially for your water and flow images?
See, I'm sure that mirrorless is the future. I'm sure that in future, but as far as I am concerned, we at our age and our time, we are so invested in DSLRs. It's very difficult to change over totally. But mirrorless is definitely the future.
There is one more question. Samudra Mitra is asking, how do you manage vibrations while shooting from motorboats in Sundarban?
Not easy. Not easy. You have to actually, Sundarban, this is a big problem. You cannot use tripods or even bin bags put on the railings and all that. So you have to actually depend on little higher shutter speeds most of the time.
If anybody has any questions, please raise your hand so that I can.
When are you planning to do solo exhibition, Rahul?
Not yet. You know why I'm afraid of planning solo exhibition? We live in these days in cities in very small flats. So where to keep those pictures? Even if you do it, at least 40, 50 big images, where do you keep it? That's the big question. So I don't know. I would love to, but I really don't know.
So, any more questions from our members, please? May we conclude that there are no further questions? Yeah, thank you very much, members. And may I request Dilwali ji to have a few words with Rahul da before I conclude?
Sir, I'm absolutely delighted to see his work, both wildlife as well as landscapes. And I felt so much at home with those scenes which Guha Sahab has shot, because they appeal to me exactly the way they have appealed to him. So we are absolutely at the same wavelength, both of us on these scenes. And I felt that as if I'm taking those photographs, you know, I felt so close to his way of taking photographs that I was at the same wavelength, I would say. And I enjoyed each and every picture. Each and every picture is a masterpiece. My compliments to you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm so humbled. Such a great photographer and great personality like you.
One thing I forgot to mention, when you said about water, about your fondness for water, that is something I also share a lot, because now I've got about more than 300 pictures of water. I plan to do a big book on water. I call it Himalayan water, the liquid gold. It's a liquid gold of Himalayas, and you know, it's in various shapes. Snow, it's in dewdrops, it's in rivers, it's in lakes, it's in streams, it's in waterfalls. So at those I have photographed like you at so many places. So it can be a very beautiful collection of all the liquid gold which I have found it right from Tibet to Arunachal Pradesh. And you know, rivers, streams, waterfalls, all different kinds of water shapes and raindrops, snowfall, all those things, glaciers. So all water has also fascinated me for these 40 years, and I also plan to do a small book on water landscape. And I was so happy to see that I found somebody who also equally loves to photograph water.
Thank you very much, sir. So, such a great photographer like you, it's a big praise indeed, and I'm really humbled.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
It is my good fortune to have seen such lovely work. And if you come to Delhi, we'd love to meet you.
Surely.
Where do you live, sir?
I live in Kolkata, sir.
Where, sir?
I live in Kolkata, Calcutta.
Kolkata.
You feel humbled each way, but we are humbled, all the members and guests, seeing both the stalwarts today evening in such a lively discussion. We are all extremely delighted. And at the outset, Rahul, I would like to say the narratives, initially you have narrated about the elements of design. That is so catchy and important these days that every photographer must practice it before they venture out to photograph.
Absolutely. If you do your own, analyze your own photographs, you will be surprised to see the result.
Yes. It's like your short, condensed material that you have narrated us is just like a Bhagavad Gita or a Bible or a Quran in short. That's a must. And your presentation on bird photography is really thought-provoking. Every image that you have been taking, there must have been a lot of thought process gone beyond before you shot the image. It looked as if you have reinvented the bird photography.
Yes.
We are very proud of you. And wildlife images are just phenomenal because with their habitats, most of these photographers of wildlife today, they are more into portraits like things, and they have some have the brilliant idea of including the entire habitat, because the conservation part of wildlife includes invariably the habitat. So that is missing in many of the wildlife photographs these days. And the eye level pleasing shots are just amazing.
Yes.
And extremely very happy with your powerful images of birds and animals. And regarding these landscapes, they are quite dramatic, stunning, and unmissable images, and are a real treat to our eyes. We can well estimate the enormous amount of time, energy, patience, effort that has gone into this entire work of yours. And it's an unforgettable experience, undoubtedly. And a lot of thought process behind every image, as I've told you. And a lot of learning was made possible this day for every one of us. And fortunate that we are here to peep into your great journey of photography. And thank you very much, Rahulji. We are very proud of you. We are highly thankful to you. TPS is always with you. You are a part of it. And from today, Sri Ashok Dilwali ji is our family member.
Yes.
We are very proud of you.
So,
Thank you very much, Ashok ji. And with this, thank you, Rahul ji and Ashok ji.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Satta, and thank you all the members of TPS for giving me this great opportunity.
Thank you, sir. And thank you, Astosh. Thank you, Sarup Kunti, for enabling this smooth flow of events this evening. And
Yes.
thank you, Sachma Garu. Without you, Rahul would not have come here.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Sachaji.
Thank you.
So with this, we can conclude this meeting. And thank you very much. We'll again see on 26th of this month
Yes.
with the phenomenal 22nd part of Dilwaliji's presentation.
Thank you.
And we wish to see as early as possible. Thank you very much, all,
Thank you.
all members. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.